is ready to go?
Yeah, I believe Nick's ready to go, yep.
Just something you said after Monday's game about shooting off the pass. A couple of guys said today, when they watch video, it's easier to see. It would be handy if there was a pause button during games. What's the trigger there to make sure they shoot when it happens so quickly during a game?
Yeah, well, first of all, I've got great respect for the fact that it's easy to hit pause and say you should do this. That's just the reality. Hockey's a fast game, extremely fluid, and that's the reality of it. What our job as coaches is to try to build habits, and especially with a game that's as fluid as hockey, it's about building habits so that they can react to different situations the right way as many times as possible. And so with shooting off the pass, it's just the mentality of getting that puck on and off your stick as fast as you can. And so we've tried to introduce drills in which they're required to do it. We've introduced we've talked about it as a concept to do it whenever possible. There's certain drills where within that drill that they're going to do it, or give them the opportunity to, and it might be a one-time shot, or it might be, a cross. Whenever it crosses your body, it's more of a two-touch where you touch it once and then touch it twice and it's off your stick. So it's a mentality and a habit that we're going to have to keep pounding over time. Just like any mentality or habit, it doesn't change right away. It's going to take time, and we're going to stay with it, and we'll become better scorers because of it.
As part of it, there's a chance you'll lose possession. Is trusting there's a guy down low, if he doesn't get the tip, he retrieves the rebound? Or
no, I don't think in these cases it's not a shoot or don't shoot. It's just the habit of being ready to one time. You don't like one timing a puck if it's not right in what I'd call my wheelhouse, or right in a perfect spot to be able to one time it. So it's easier to get in the habit. If it's not right there, then I'm going to catch with my backhand. I'm going to take a couple stick handles and make a play. But the best shooters in the world, both historically and today, whether you think of Brett Hull, you think of Stamkos, go through the list, they find a way to get stick on puck even if it's not in the perfect spot. And so it's training the guys to move their feet or move their hands or move their body so they can adjust their stick when they receive the pass and shoot the puck right away. And honestly, it's just a habit that a lot of the best scorers have, and that we're going to work real hard on.
Coach, sorry not to be on the road, but the guys look pretty good on TV, the young guys especially. Can you address they seem to bring more pace than when the veterans were out there with them last year. Am I wrong about that? And if they do, isn't that what the Red Wings need right now?
That's a hard one. I mean, that's a hard one for me to answer for sure, whether or not they have more pace or they don't have more pace. I think like anything else in life, it's especially when you're judging, it's a play here or play there, and you see that. Sometimes it feeds into what you want to see too. So what I'll say is just discussing this year. Do we want to play with pace? Yes. Do we want to play with great pressure? Yes. Those are two things that we've talked about. No space and North mentality. I mean, North mentality is playing with pace and trying to catch people when they're vulnerable. Pressure would be, or no space would be, every time they touch the puck, they've got Red Wings on them. And so those are two things that are critical to us. I think we've done a pretty good job in 2 of the 3 games. We talked about the first game, we didn't get out of our end well enough, and so we just didn't have really the opportunity to do it. I think the other 2 games we did a pretty good job.
Just talk about Christopher Hedge. I mean, it seemed like the Anaheim game, he maybe took a step forward, or whatever way you want to describe it as. I mean, did you see it that way too, or?
Yeah, I think he played pretty good in the first 2 games, but he would have been short at ice time, going to that back-to-back, I made a real, including starting them, to make sure that we played everybody and really just rolled them. And the game in LA, I thought Double A and Larkin were real going at center, so they certainly got more minutes because of that. I thought he had the best opportunity in the Anaheim game to show what he's about. And I think he's just gotten better and better. I mean, what he is, he's a real good skater who's real strong on the puck and on his skates, who thinks the game very well. And I think there's offense there, so I think he's a good player.
The Leafs tomorrow, obviously a huge challenge, the way they're scoring for everybody, but good test also for the young D.
Yeah, did you guys see the Chicago game? Did you see the end of the Chicago game? Did you guys see that? It was awesome. That was an entertaining thing there for sure. It was entertaining. It was unreal. I'm not sure the coaches love it or not, but is it a challenge for sure? Is it a challenge for a young D? Yeah, absolutely. The good thing for us is that at least we saw them in exhibition. I think all the young D played in that exhibition game, and they had their full lineup, so we know how fast they can come at you, and I think we're better prepared having done that. That doesn't mean we'll meet that challenge. It's up to us to show that tomorrow. I think part of the deal for us, though, would be if they're coming at us flying 100 miles an hour the whole night, it'll be a long night. We better put the puck in behind them. We better grind them in their zone. We better make them defend as much as possible, and that'll be the key. If we do that, we'll be in a good spot. If we don't do that, it'll be a hard night.
Jeff, now that the games are here, what's some of the things that you really like about this team?
Well, I think we've been close in the last two games to being a real good hockey team. Probably just haven't scored on our chances quite enough. But as I said, we're working on that, and I think that'll come. I think it's one of those things that, once they start to come, you feel it, and your confidence really grows. So, I think we've done a really good job of, to Greg's point, of hounding the puck, of being on top of people, of not giving any space, of both from our forwards and our D-gapping, and I think when we do that, we're a real good team, and I've seen that relentless approach, and we have to make sure we continue that.
And Jeff, you've coached young hockey players for a long, long time. Going back to when you first began as a coach, and with Rico in Miami, I'm kind of curious when you look at, have young players evolved, because the four, and including Hickett's, the five that you have young hockey players in this room, seem to be fearless. I mean, they make mistakes, but they don't dwell on it. They just go right back to work. I mean, is that how, and I know this is a long rambling question, but is that how young hockey, have they evolved, I guess is what I'm saying, from the time you first stood behind the bench with a young team to where they are now?
I mean, first coaching experience was under Bob Daniels at Ferris State. I want to make sure I get that right.
Livonia native, I love Bob.
Yeah, one of the best coaches in college hockey, without a doubt. Anyways, what I would say is this: to me, where the biggest evolution of young players has been, they come in the league so much more prepared than ever. I see it with my own kids in youth hockey. I see 8-year-olds do things that no 8-year-old used to ever be able to do or even think about doing, and now multiple kids do it on one team in suburban Detroit. It's amazing. So the guys are much more prepared, probably more skilled at a young age than ever, and that gives them the opportunity, I think, to make an impact. In terms of being fearless, I think any person that's been on the job and hasn't had major failure yet generally is fearless, and then it's once they have major failure how they deal with it. Seriously, whether it's a sales job or a professional hockey job, it's the truth. You guys write articles, and until you write a really bad one, you're probably fearless, and then you write a real bad one, not saying any of you have, and then you might start second guessing yourself a little bit. So I think that happens with young players too. I think one of the advantages of young players is they are fearless, because they haven't had yet necessarily to deal with the consequences of not or making big mistakes.
Are they more coachable?
I think that's an individual thing. I think we've got guys that have been in the league a long time that are extremely coachable in this room, so I don't think that necessarily has to do with it. I think sometimes actually young players aren't necessarily, because they're not as comfortable in their own skin yet either to accept some criticism, and I think once you've kind of been around, you understand that usually a coach is trying to help you.